For centuries, galactic star maps bore a curious emptiness. Between the Empire trade lanes and the outer colonies stretched a wide gulf of stars, uncharted, unclaimed, avoided. Traders whispered of mysterious disappearances, mercenaries swapped tales of ghost fleets, and smugglers swore entire convoys had simply vanished. Yet no official record ever explained why. In bold red letters, the maps marked it simply, human space. To most of the galaxy, the words were a joke. Humanity, they said, was a primitive race still fumbling with reactors and patchwork colonies. The older species, those who had ruled for millennia, scoffed at the notion that such newcomers could inspire fear. At council chambers, alien diplomats chuckled over drinks, dismissing the forbidden zone as nothing more than human propaganda. Still, not everyone laughed. The Empire's admirals remembered hushed reports, patrol ships lost without trace, probes sending fragments of garbled warnings before cutting off, scouts who returned wide-eyed and silent, refusing to speak of what they'd seen. These anomalies were quietly archived, locked away as inconclusive. The Empire chose pride over caution. So when the High Dominion proposed an expedition to chart and conquer human space, their peers applauded. Hundreds of warships rallied under banners of conquest, each commander eager to carve their name into history. To them, it was not war, it was pest control. Their fleets boasted weapons that had crushed entire civilizations. What resistance could Earth possibly offer? The humans, however, had been watching. For decades, their intelligence networks intercepted whispers of invasion. The moment alien fleets began massing at the borders, alarms flared in underground bunkers and hidden command centers. Generals exchanged grim nods. The day they had been preparing for, the day mocked as paranoia by their critics, had finally come. While the alien coalition boasted of a swift campaign, humanity moved in silence. Colossal shipyards buried inside hollow asteroids powered up. Railguns, dormant for years, hummed as their capacitors charged. AI swarms stirred from hibernation, awaiting release. Every soldier, miner, and engineer knew what was at stake. Not territory, not pride, but survival. As the first wave of alien warships crossed the threshold into human space, a message rippled across the void, carried on every frequency. You were warned. The map ends here. Beyond this line, there is only retribution. The alien fleet surged forward with confidence, their ships glittering like blades of glass under distant suns. 100 strong, they moved in tight formation, broadcasting their arrival across all frequencies, as if daring the humans to respond. Admirals boasted in open channels, promising swift conquest and glory to their empires. At first, human space seemed silent. No defenses, no fleets, no resistance. Empty systems stretched for light years, the stars cold and indifferent. Some alien commanders began to laugh. Perhaps the warnings had been nothing more than myths after all. Perhaps humans had already fled in terror. Then the ambush began. From the shadow of a dead moon, something stirred. Colossal hulls, darker than the void itself, detached from the rock and drifted forward. Engines ignited with thunder, revealing vast shapes hidden within asteroid fields. The Colossus-class warships emerged at last, towering giants of steel and fury, built not with elegance but with raw brutality. Their surfaces bristled with railguns, missile pods, and drone bays. The aliens' laughter died instantly. Without warning, the Colossus fleet opened fire. Rail slugs accelerated to unimaginable speeds, punching through alien shields as if they were tissue. The first volley tore an enemy cruiser in half, its debris scattering into the void. Drones poured from launch bays, swarming like hornets, overwhelming enemy systems with surgical strikes. Alien captains barked frantic orders. Shields collapsed under concentrated bombardments. Sleek dreadnoughts, built to impress with their polished curves, cracked apart under the weight of human firepower. Within minutes, formations disintegrated. What was meant to be a glorious march had become a slaughter. Across the battlefield, humanity's voice cut through the chaos, broadcast from the UNS Colossus itself. General Rahim's words carried no triumph, only steel. You crossed the line. You were warned. And now, You will learn why the map stops here. The alien commanders, once smug, now screamed into comms for reinforcements. Their arrogance had been shattered. The coalition had expected resistance. They had not expected annihilation. In the silence between explosions, one chilling realization rippled through the enemy fleet. Humanity had not just survived. They had been waiting. And the retribution had only begun. The alien coalition reeled from their humiliating defeat. Reports of shattered fleets and annihilated cruisers spread across their empire like wildfire, igniting fear among their people and fury in their rulers. Pride, more than strategy, demanded a response. The Galactic Senate gathered in emergency session, their chambers echoing with arguments and trembling voices. No one dared admit it aloud, but every counselor felt the same chill. Humanity had defied them. And so, the Empire unleashed its hammer. Within weeks, an armada unlike any before was assembled. Titan-class dreadnoughts, each the size of a small moon, glided from shipyards, their hulls forged with exotic alloys never before seen in battle. They carried weapons designed to erase planets, to burn atmospheres, to rewrite maps with fire. These were not fleets meant for conquest. They were fleets built for extermination. Their first strike was merciless. A human colony on the edge of known space, Artemis IV, was chosen as the example. At dawn, its skies were filled with descending shadows. Orbital bombardments turned oceans into boiling steam. Cities crumbled under kinetic strikes. Millions of innocents vanished in hours, their screams silenced by the vacuum of space. The Empire broadcast the destruction live across the galaxy, a warning to every race. Resist, and this will be your fate. For a moment, the plan worked. Fear rippled outward. Neighboring civilizations whispered that perhaps humans had been reckless to provoke such giants. The Empire's propaganda declared the Colossus fleet a fluke, a temporary illusion of strength. But the humans did not bow. From the ashes of Artemis IV came a message that spread just as fast as the Empire's terror. Survivors, blooded and furious, swore vengeance in unison. Human channels across the void carried a single vow: for every city you burn, we will take 100 of your ships. For every innocent you kill, your rulers will sleep in fear. The Empire had hoped to break human will. Instead, they had forged it into steel. Behind the smoke of ruined colonies, human engineers accelerated construction in hidden shipyards. Black projects were dusted off. Experimental engines, forbidden weapons, and untested technologies were pulled from vaults. Humanity was no longer simply defending. They were preparing to strike back harder than the galaxy had ever imagined. And the countdown to retribution had already begun. The galaxy expected humanity to retreat into silence, licking its wounds after Artemis IV's destruction. Instead, a strange quiet descended across human space, a silence not of fear, but of preparation. Enemy scouts prowling near the Sol system reported nothing unusual. No fleets massing, no great movements. Yet deep within asteroid belts, hollowed moons, and artificial docks hidden inside gas giants, humanity had been weaving nightmares. Then the veil was lifted. The first of the Leviathan-class dreadnoughts emerged from the dark. Each vessel was longer than any Empire ship, armored with layers of adaptive plating that shimmered like liquid shadows. Where alien ships bristled with cannons, the Leviathans carried weapons beyond comprehension. Railguns that could spear through a planet's crust, plasma projectors hotter than a star's core, and missile bays that unfolded like blooming iron flowers, releasing swarms of AI-guided death. But it wasn't the firepower that terrified the galaxy. It was the engines. These ships moved without the signature ripples of warp or jump technology. They appeared in the middle of enemy formations with no warning, striking like ghosts. The Empire's admirals called it impossible. Humans called it skip drive, a weaponization of physics no alien had ever dared attempt. The first test came when the Colossus fleet entered the Vega corridor, expecting another easy purge. They never saw the Leviathans arrive. One heartbeat, their sensors were clear. The next, the human warships materialized in their midst, unleashing devastation before alarms could even sound. Dreadnoughts that had taken centuries to build were torn apart in minutes, their crews vaporized in firestorms. The galaxy watched in shock as entire fleets, once symbols of dominance, were reduced to burning wreckage. Broadcasts that were meant to inspire fear now carried images of screaming admirals begging for retreat, their arrogance shattered. And still, humanity did not stop. New classes of war machines followed, hunter-killer frigates faster than light itself, orbital lances capable of piercing planetary shields, and swarms of autonomous drones that thought, learned, and killed without hesitation. Each unveiling was a message. Humanity had not been catching up to galactic powers. They had been quietly surpassing them all along. For the first time in living memory, the galaxy trembled not at the wrath of empires, but at the inevitability of human vengeance. The line on the map marking human space was no longer a warning. It was a promise. And soon, that promise would come due. The galaxy had seen wars before, bloody conflicts that scarred planets and toppled dynasties, but nothing compared to what humanity unleashed when their final patience broke. The Empire believed its sheer numbers could still grind down the upstart species. Millions of ships were rallied into the Omega Armada, stretching across the stars like a tidal wave. Every admiral swore that this would be the decisive strike, the end of mankind's defiance. They were wrong. Humanity met the Armada not with equal numbers, but with overwhelming precision. Leviathan dreadnoughts and hunter-killer fleets materialized across multiple systems at once, tearing supply lines apart before the warfront even stabilized. Entire fuel convoys vanished in silent ambushes. Communications blacked out. Worlds that thought themselves safe behind the Empire's lines suddenly found human banners rising above their ruins. The decisive battle came above Erendor Prime, the jewel of the Empire. Billions of citizens watched in horror as human fleets erupted into orbit, skip drives shredding every defense grid in seconds. The Empire's most powerful warlord deployed his colossal flagship, a behemoth the size of a continent, only to see it cleaved apart by a single strike from a human orbital lance. The message was unmistakable. No fortress, no throne, no emperor was beyond humanity's reach. The slaughter was not without mercy, but it was without hesitation. Civilians were spared, but military strongholds were reduced to molten debris. Entire legions surrendered en masse, their commanders weeping as they realized the truth. The empire they served was already dead. Humanity did not simply win battles. They dismantled the very machinery of oppression the galaxy had endured for millennia. Then came the final act. The surviving rulers of the Galactic Senate, once untouchable, were dragged into a public tribunal broadcast to every world. Humanity did not demand tribute, nor conquest. Instead, they demanded accountability. Crimes of enslavement, planetary purges, and centuries of tyranny were laid bare. And when the verdict was read, the galaxy saw its first taste of true justice. From that day forward, maps changed forever. The bold red line marking human space was gone, replaced by a vast network of alliances under a new banner. The coalition of free worlds, founded and protected by mankind. No longer were humans the fragile newcomers mocked for their small fleets. They were the guardians of order, the architects of fear for tyrants, and the unshakable reminder that some species, when pushed too far, do not break. They rise. And the galaxy would never forget it.